Before Nigeria was a nation, there were regions, vast, unequal, and uneasy with one another. In the north, leadership was older than colonialism. Authority flowed through faith, lineage, and land. But the world was changing, and tradition alone could no longer hold it still. He was born into legacy, yet refused to live only within it. Educated in the Quran and the classroom, rooted in the Emirates, yet fluent in modern governance, he stood at the crossroads of centuries. This is a story of a man who chose region without rejecting nation, who believed unity must respect differences, and who understood that power was not only seized, it was stewarded. This is the life of Alhaji Sir Ahmadu Bello, the Sardauna of Sokoto, a leader who helped shape northern Nigeria so it could stand within a fragile federation. Welcome to Echoes of Time TV, where history is not reduced to heroes or villains, but remembered in full. Alhaji Sir Ahmadu Bello was a Nigerian political leader who served as the spokesman for northern Nigeria during the country's struggle to gain independence from the British colonial government. Bello was the Sardauna of Sokoto and is considered one of the founding fathers of modern Nigeria. He combined traditional leadership qualities with a deep knowledge of Western governance. His early life. Ahmadu Bello was born in Rabat on June 12, 1910. His father Ibrahim Atiku Bello was the district head and held the title of Serikin Rabat. He was a descendant of Uthman Dan Fodio, founder of the Sokoto Caliphate, a great-grandson of Caliph Muhammad Bello, and a grandson of Caliph Abubakar Atiku Naraba. He received Islamic education at home, where he learned the Quran, Islamic jurisprudence, and the traditions of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He later attended Sokoto Provincial School and the Katina Training College, now Barewa College. During his schooling years, he was known as Amadu Rabba. Some also called him Gamji. He finished school in 1931 and subsequently became the English teacher in Sokoto Middle School. In 1934, Bello was made a district head of Rabba by Sultan Hassan Damu Azu, succeeding his brother. In 1938, he was promoted to the position of divisional head of Gosua in present-day Zamfara State and became a member of the Sultan's Council. In 1938, at the age of just 28, he made attempts to become the Sultan of Sokoto but was not successful, losing to Sir Sadiq Abubakar III, who reigned for 50 years until his death in 1988. The new Sultan immediately made Sir Ahmadu Bello the Sardauna Crown Prince of Sokoto, a chieftaincy title, and promoted him to the Sokoto Native Authority Council. These titles automatically made him the chief political advisor to the Sultan. Later, he was put in charge of the Sokoto province to oversee 47 districts, and by 1944, he was back at the Sultan's palace to work as the chief secretary of the state's native administration. In 1948, he was offered a scholarship to study local government administration in England, which he accepted as he wanted to increase his knowledge of the process of governance. His political career. As the urge to be involved in the government was the force behind Bello's pursuit of education in England. Shortly after his return, he was nominated to represent the province of Sokoto in the Regional House of Assembly and was eventually elected. As a member of the Assembly, he embraced a style of consultation and consensus in his representation of the Northern Emirates of Kano, Borno, and Sokoto. As the movement for independence from the British Empire gathered momentum, Bello emerged as a strong advocate of federalism as a system of government most suitable for Nigeria. This was not unconnected to his desire to protect the North from what he perceived as the possibility of southern domination. He also served on the National Constitutional Drafting Commission as a representative of the North. Bello later became a member of the Regional Executive Council as Minister of Works. Over time, he headed various ministries in the northern region including Works, Local Government, and Community Development. In a legislative debate held in 1952, The traditional ruler from the north expressed his support for Ahmadu Bello's policy. He likened Nigeria to a compound with three houses. The people in Mr. West and Mr. East houses have already gone far on the way, having started their journey early in the morning. But we of Malan North House only have started after midday and have begun to understand that alien way. Therefore, it is very necessary for us to run at a very terrific speed in order to overtake those people and able to reach our common destination together. This was as a process of the Constitutional Conference during that time. In 1953 to 1957, he led the Northern delegation during independent talks held in London. Bello became the first premier of Northern Nigeria in 1954, and in 1956 elections he led his party, the Northern People's Congress (NPC), to victory and a plurality of the parliamentary seats. The NPC forged an alliance with Nnamdi Azikiwe (NCNC), National Council of Nigerian Citizens, formerly the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, to form Nigeria's first indigenous federal government, which eventually won independence from Britain. In forming the 1960 independent federal government, Bello, as president of the Northern People's Congress (NPC), chose to remain premier of Northern Nigeria and devolved the position of prime minister of the federation to deputy president of the NPC, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. He chose this path because he wanted to remain in the north, and accepting the post of a prime minister would have required living in capital city of Lagos, which was in the south. Bello was perhaps the most politically powerful person in Nigeria during the first 5 years of independence. His legacy and death. Sir Ahmadu Bello's many political accomplishments include the establishment of the Northern Regional Development Corporation (NRDC), subsequently known as the Northern Nigerian Development Corporation (NNDC), the Bank of the North, the Broadcasting Company of Northern Nigeria (BCNN), and the Nigerian Citizen newspaper. The North was less developed economically than the South, and Bello argued that it was necessary for the North to catch up for the sake of national unity. He traveled constantly across the North to meet with the common people and listen to their concern. Bello's greatest legacy was the modernization of Northern Nigeria and the unification of its diverse people. Bello originally embraced the indirect rule system of colonial Nigeria before gradually embracing reforms. During his period of premiership, his biographer John Padden described him as a progressive conservative because he was an agent of change and also of the traditional elites. Bello's leadership characteristics was a blend of religious, traditional, and modern values, and his obligation in colonial and post-independence Nigeria was performing these different roles in the northern region. Also, due to the limited number of qualified graduates from the region, Sir Ahmadu Bello instated the modernization of the region public service. Administration in the north was through indirect rule, and Western education was not considered very important in many divisions. After the regionalization of the public service, political leaders in the region felt that the number of northerners in the service was minimal in comparison to their counterparts in the south. Due to the political consideration, leaders in the region limited the recruitment of Southerners into the Northern Regional Service and found ways to push up the rank of Northerners in junior and senior positions. This policy led to increased education opportunities for Northerners, particularly in the Middle Belt region. Regarding the policy, historian Kirk Green noted that it is the Middle Belt people who have supplied most of the secondary schools and outposts of technicians, while their astonishing preponderance in all ranks of the army has been a surprise to correspondents just going to Nigeria. The leaders retained the services of expatriates because Northerners regarded expatriates as transient but feared sudden domination of the regional civil service. Measures were put in place to train Northerners. In 1949, a scholarship board provided grants to almost all Northerners with qualification to enter universities. In 1957, administration courses were taught at the Institute of Administration in Zaria. Apart from trying to fill positions in the civil service with Northerners, political leaders in the zone also made it a priority to secure Northern representation in senior positions of the federal services. Adding to his educational achievements, Sir Ahmadu Bello initiated plans to modernize traditional Quranic education in northern Nigeria. He set up a commission to this effect and gave official recognition to the schools. The commission recommended the introduction of secular subjects in the schools and creation of different classes for pupils. Part of his educational objectives was building a school in each province in northern Nigeria. The University of Northern Nigeria, which is now ABU Zaria Ahmadu Bello University, was founded on October 4, 1962 by the Premier himself, who commissioned it to serve as a citadel of learning for the majority of northern Nigerians in the region. However, of the 426 students admitted in 1962, only 147 were northerners, a patch rate of 34.5%. Arewa House, which is the Center for Historical Documentation and Research for the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Nigeria, located at number 1 Rabba Road, is in the residence of the late Premier of Northern Nigeria, Ahmadu Bello. Bello's final years were characterized by his earlier years. A major priority of his was making sure the region was at par politically and economically with the western and eastern regions. This contributed to the decision to replace both Southerners and Europeans in the northern region's civil society with Northerners, a policy that received criticism from opposition leaders such as Ibrahim Imam. He believed strongly in both national and Pan-African unity, and rather than wasting time blaming the ills facing his country on colonialism, he instead set up the development of his region and to adopt from the West what suited Nigeria while retaining those cultural practices and values that were cherished and integral to the country's identity. His enthusiasm for federalism suggests that he believed that power was best shared across regions and clans rather than concentrated in the hands of an elite, a situation which would only result in jealousy and competition. He was awarded several honorary doctorates, including a doctorate in law from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, UNN, in December 1961. He was also honored by the United Kingdom, the countries from which he had helped to negotiate independence, with a knighthood just before the end of colonial rule. On 15 January 1966, Bello was assassinated by Major Chukwuma Kaduna Nzegu, a Nigerian army officer in a coup which toppled Nigeria's post-independence government. He was still serving as Premier of Northern Nigeria at that time. This was the first coup in the history of Nigeria, which heralded the rise of the military in the country's politics. Also assassinated in the coup was his longtime friend Alhaji Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, alongside many political elites in the north and in the west. Bello had 3 wives at the time of his death. Hafsatu, his senior wife, died alongside him. He had 3 surviving daughters with another wife, Amina, also referred to as Gogon Kano. His eldest daughter was Ino, followed by Aisha and Lubabuta. Ahmadu Bello appears on the 200 naira notes of Nigerian currency. The weight of a region, the silence of a gun. Sir Ahmadu Bello never ruled from Lagos. He ruled from the soil he knew, believing leadership meant proximity, not distance. He built institutions where none existed, schools where ignorance was inherited, banks where exclusion had been policy, and the universities to prepare a future he knew would outlive him. To some, he was cautious, to others, conservative, but to millions, he believed that progress need not erase identity and that unity must be negotiated, not enforced. Ahmadu Bello was not merely a premier, he was a bridge between past and future, between faith and states, between region and nation. Echoes of Time TV. Because history is not only what happened, It is what still shapes us. Thank you for listening.